So let's talk about Nvidia. For a while now, they've been the undisputed king of the entire AI revolution. But, a shadow has fallen over the kingdom, and it's got everyone asking a really big question. Is that throne starting to crumble? Let's dive in and see what's going on.
This whole thing plays out like a classic fairy tale. You've got this incredibly powerful king, right? Ruling over a vast, wealthy land, and he seems absolutely invincible. But, as we all know from the best stories, no reign lasts forever. And for Nvidia, it feels like the challenges are coming way faster than anyone ever expected.
And this is where things get really interesting. This slide gets to the heart of the puzzle, right? On one side, Nvidia is this absolute titan. For a hot minute, it was the most valuable company in the entire world, worth trillions. But then you look at the other side, and its stock has taken a pretty serious tumble recently. So what is really going on behind these huge numbers?
To really get what's happening, you have to understand the kingdom they built. The whole world of modern AI, we're talking everything from ChatGPT to those self-driving cars you see around, it's all built on a foundation of Nvidia's tech. They don't just have a slice of the pie. For a long time, they were the entire pie.
So how in the world did they build this incredible fortress? Well, it was a masterclass in strategy, in vision, and honestly, being in the exact right place at the exact right time. Yeah, this didn't just happen overnight.
It all started with video games. Seriously, Nvidia got really good at making these things called graphics processing units, GPUs, to make video games look stunningly realistic. And then something amazing happened. Researchers had this huge aha moment. They realized those same chips were absolutely perfect for training artificial intelligence. And just like that, Nvidia's gaming tech became the essential brain for this brand new AI revolution.
And the wildest part? Nvidia's founder and CEO, Jensen Huang, he totally saw this coming. Years ago, he was out there saying that AI would be the next industrial revolution. He wasn't just building a company, he was positioning his kingdom to be the one and only supplier for an entirely new world.
And the result of that vision? This number right here. Just let that sink in for a second. 98%. That's how much of the data center GPU market Nvidia controls. It might not be a monopoly in the legal sense of the word, but in practice, it's absolute dominance. The whole AI world literally depends on them.
But you know how these stories go. No fortress, no matter how strong, is completely safe. And right now, there are some pretty powerful forces gathering at the gates of Castle Nvidia, and they're threatening its rule from the outside.
Okay, so the first major problem is a big one, and it's all about geopolitics. Imagine a massive wall is suddenly built around one of the kingdom's richest territories. That's kind of what happened. New U.S. export rules, designed to stop China from getting advanced AI tech, have basically cut Nvidia off from a huge market that used to make them a ton of money.
And man, things got bad fast. First, the US tightened the rules. Then, boom, Nvidia's CEO himself admitted their sales to China were basically cut in half. So, they tried to get clever and made a special, less powerful chip just for China. But then, get this, even that got blocked by newer rules. The final nail in the coffin? A massive $5.5 billion write-down on chips they just couldn't sell. Ouch.
And you know what happens when there's a huge gap in the market, right? Someone else jumps in to fill it. With Nvidia getting pushed out, a rival kingdom is rising up inside China. Huawei is going all in on developing its own powerful AI chips. And now, Chinese tech giants like Alibaba and Tencent are lining up to buy from them, which only makes this new rival stronger.
All right, the next threat is a little sneakier, but it's just as dangerous. It's this thing called double ordering. So because everyone is so desperate to get Nvidia's chips, huge customers are ordering way more than they actually need just to make sure they get a spot in line. It's exactly like that toilet paper panic buying a few years ago, but for AI brains. The danger is that this creates a fake sense of super high demand that could just vanish overnight.
And this all leads to a really important point, summed up perfectly by this analyst. The crazy demand for AI chips feels like it's going to last forever, but it's not. Some insiders think this first big wave of building all the AI infrastructure could actually peak around mid-2025. After that, we could see a downturn. The gold rush just can't last forever.
Okay, so we've got enemies at the gates, but what if the real trouble is brewing inside the palace walls? Some recent moves have people whispering that the kingdom's leadership might not be as rock solid as it looks from the outside.
Okay, now this is where it gets a little juicy. On the one hand, yeah, Nvidia is definitely grabbing top talent from huge companies like Intel and Cisco. But on the other, it's also losing some of its most experienced generals. And look, when one of your key leaders doesn't just leave, but defects to a rival army, you've got to start asking, why?
And we're not talking about middle managers here. We're talking about the guy who literally created their supercomputer program, a veteran who was there for 23 years, the head of all their worldwide AI initiatives, who just jumped ship to their competitor, AMD, the VP of Enterprise Computing. These are some of the key architects of Nvidia's empire, and they're all heading for the exits.
So this all brings us to the final showdown, the battle for tomorrow. And what's fascinating is that the experts, the analysts, the biggest investors on the planet, they're all looking at the exact same fortress, and they're seeing completely different things.
So, on one side, you've got the skeptics. This chart shows what's called a PE ratio, which is just a fancy way of saying how expensive a stock is. Nvidia's is over 54. It's priced for absolute perfection, way higher than other tech giants like Meta and Microsoft. And what that means is, if there's any little stumble, any hint that growth is slowing down, that stock could fall, and fall hard.
But then, you look at this. A staggering 92% of Wall Street analysts say you should buy the stock. It's just this giant wall of optimism. They see all the threats, but they believe the fortress is strong enough to handle it all. They think the growth story isn't over, it's just getting started.
And just when you think you've got it figured out, here comes the big twist. While all those analysts are screaming buy, 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 some of the biggest and smartest money in the world is doing the exact opposite. They're quietly selling.
And we're not talking about just anyone. We're talking about legends. Masayoshi Son's SoftBank, they sold their entire massive stake. Peter Thiel's hedge fund cashed out completely. These are investors who are famous for seeing what's coming next before anyone else, and they've decided to take their chips off the table. Now, maybe it's just smart profit-taking, or maybe they think the party's over. So that leaves us with the ultimate question, doesn't it? If almost every expert on Wall Street is so sure about Nvidia's future, then why are the legends of the investing world quietly cashing out? Who's right? The army of analysts betting on the king, or the legendary investors who think his reign might be coming to an end? The answer to that is going to shape the entire future of the AI revolution.